In this video, I'm going to go over the process of creating a PDF in Illustrator for you to be able to turn in your assignments during this class. The majority of the assignments will be done in Illustrator, so it's important to understand the intricacies of how to create these files so you can turn them into Blackboard. The first thing to understand is that with Illustrator, it operates with a series of layers. So there are these layers that you can turn on and off in the Layers palette, which can be opened through the Window menu. So you'll see that down here, this Layers palette that you can open. But the first thing to remember is that whatever you see is what you're ultimately going to get in the PDF. So you want to make sure that you have the correct layers toggled on so that what we are seeing is ultimately what we want. And once we have that figured out, we can go ahead and create the PDF. Now in Illustrator, a PDF works a little bit differently in that it is very closely related to the file type of an Illustrator file. So that's an AI file. An AI file is very similar to a .pdf. And you can actually open PDF files in Illustrator and very often edit or manage the layers and do things like that inside of the file. So it's a very powerful combination of file types, the relationship between the two. So remember that as you're working in Illustrator because it can come in handy. But for the process of this, we're going to go up to File and Save As, because here we don't have to export. We can actually save as a PDF file type because Illustrator supports that. We want to come down here and select PDF, and we want to name the file type whatever you want to name it. Follow the naming conventions of your assignment. Go ahead and click Save. And I'm going to go ahead and say Replace because I already have a PDF that I created on the desktop that was the same name. Now in here, I'm going to select for the preset smallest file size. I'm doing that because for the purpose of these assignments, they will be going to Blackboard, which will be viewed on screen. We don't need high resolution files. We're not printing these documents. And it will make it a lot easier if the file sizes are very small for us to be able to discuss them on the discussion board and for me to grade them. Now, one thing that is going to be unchecked by selecting this option is the Preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. Now, we talked about that one of the advantages of PDFs in relationship to Illustrator is that Illustrator can open PDF files. Now, unchecking this doesn't mean that Illustrator can't open the PDF, but it will not maintain the maximum amount of editing capability. So you'll notice if I come up here and I go back to Illustrator default that does check back on. But removing that component from the file will make it much smaller, which again is what we're after for these Blackboard submissions and for discussion submissions. So now I'm just going to go quickly through these different windows, mostly just so that you can see them, and if you're having issues you can make them match what I'm seeing on my screen. This should be the default smallest file size setting, but just in case if you're having issues, this may end up being helpful. Now I'm going to go down here and click Save PDF. Now a dialog is going to pop up reminding me that I'm removing the Illustrator editing capabilities, which is what we discussed. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK because I'm expecting that. But that is important to remember if you're working on something that you would like to preserve those editing capabilities. So click OK. And now it's going to save the PDF file. Now, since Illustrator is not meant to work with multiple pages, if you're doing an assignment where there are multiple pages you need to submit, you'll need to actually turn the layers on and off to show the next thing that you want, and then come up and save as again, going through the same process, naming the file differently so we don't override it, ensuring all of these settings are still correct, and then we will output all of the PDFs and ultimately seam them together in the end in Acrobat. So that's a fairly easy process. There's another video that goes over how to mix PDFs or combine them together, but that will be the process. You'll need to turn these layers on and off to create these separate PDFs, again, that ultimately will be seamed or added together in Acrobat and then turned into Blackboard. So I hope that helps you make PDFs in Illustrator, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask your instructor.